Taino Stories presents the series The 40 Years of Wars between the Tainos and the Spaniards in Puerto Rico. In this episode, we present the techniques the Spaniards used to conquer Boriquén. Part 1. Once the Spaniards learned about the Guaitiao ceremony, the Taino Pact of Brotherhood, they began to stage false Guaitiao rituals to make the caciques believe they were allies. For example, when Ponce de Leon and Agüey the Elder exchanged names. For the Tainos, that act meant absolute trust. For the Spaniards, it was only a political instrument that they used to their advantage and convenience. When it no longer suited them, they turned against the cacique and enslaved his people. The Spaniards offered the caciques gifts and trinkets, mirrors, glass beads, knives, colorful fabrics, and little bells. These objects, unknown to the Tainos, were used as lures of friendship. Once the cacique accepted gifts in front of his people, he was symbolically bound to that alliance. The Spaniards carried out controlled demonstrations of force. They displayed horses, war dogs, crossbows, and swords. They did not use them immediately, but rather as a spectacle, so that the cacique would believe that resistance was useless and that it could bring death to his people. The Spaniards captured caciques, naborias, and royal families through deceit. Sometimes they invited the cacique to a meeting or to see an object, and there they chained him. A very famous and well-known case was when Alonso de Ojeda captured Chief Caonabo by inviting him to see a horse with little golden bells. The Spaniards deceived the Tainos with promises of protection against rival tribes. Join us, and we will protect you from your enemies. That is how they convinced caciques who had disputes with their neighbors. In Boriquén, some lesser caciques surrendered to avoid the fate of the rebels. The Spaniards ended up enslaving them. The friars of the Catholic Church baptized the Tainos and converted them to the Catholic religion by force. They baptized them and gave them Christian names, saying that they were now children of the King and of God, erasing their original identity and creating a new one that had to obey the King of Spain and submit to Spanish laws, even though they were the original owners of the land. This new identity made them subjects of the king and not of Agüey, and it turned them into laborers of the land, where they had to pay tributes to live on it, even though they were the original owners of the land. The Spaniards forced the cacicas into forced marriages with Spanish men, so that the husbands would govern through them or gain control of the lands and turn them into cattle ranches or conucos to grow crops and export the goods to Spain. Famous cases in Puerto Rico were those of Cachica Yuisa in Loíza and Cachica Catalina in Carolina, who lost their vast chiefdoms to the Spaniards through forced Catholic marriages, where their identity was taken from them and they were married off so that a Spaniard could keep everything. This story we will discuss in another episode. The Spaniards also manipulated trade routes between tribes, which caused hunger and scarcity of resources in the chiefdoms. This made it easier for the Spaniards to take control of conucos, water, or fishing routes. The Spaniards controlled the distribution of food, so that the caciques would depend on them and be forced to submit to whatever they commanded. Little by little, the Spanish government manipulated the Taino government into surrendering village by village with dirty tactics, lies, deceit, and wars. Follow us in the next chapter of the 40 Years of Wars between the Tainos and the Spaniards in Puerto Rico, because the Tainos are still here and we carry our history.